It's that time of the year. I'm going to talk about my favorite releases of this year. This one is going to be a lot longer than the previous one. Yeah, I got such a big list of albums that I had to put it on a Google Doc. I'm not doing it completely off of memory like I did last time. With the sheer amount of releases I'm going to talk about, you're just going to very much tell how just all over the place my taste is. I mean, mostly it's within the metal and electronic space, but like prepare for some like whiplash. But yeah, let's just get right into it. Fuck you, Skrillex. You think you're Andy Warhol, but you're not. It's a phenomenal album. Like, he dropped this album out of nowhere, and it's like a full-on return to dubstep and like bro step. That, and he dropped it on April Fool's Day. Also, he finally released Voltage after like 10 years of waiting for it. Can I also just talk about the physical release of this album? Like, the picture disc vinyl just looks amazing. I managed to get one myself. It looks even better in person. Honestly, my only issue with the physical release is that it has like a fake receipt taped on the inside of the gatefold that has all the tracks on it, and folding it back up is kind of a hassle, so it's just kind of like sandwiched between the gatefold like very hastily for me. One cool thing from the release is that it had like a pamphlet in it that also doubled as a poster of the album cover, so I have that hanging on my wall. That wasn't the only release from Skrillex this year. We also got the Hit Me Where It Hurts EP. Again, just phenomenal. Fuse is probably the closest we're ever getting to Skrillex, like going full on, you know, early 2010s bro step. Of course, he already was doing that in his album earlier this year, but like, just listen to the drop of Fuse and you'll get it. Keeping it within the same sphere, Sudden Death released 3 albums. Sure, they're remixes of Void Volume 2, but like each album is an hour and a half. I think my favorite remixes from these 3 albums are probably Bajelvin's Demonic Curse remix and Nimda's Carabao remix. I'm just gonna say there is some insane sound design within these 3 albums. Speaking of Bajelvin, since I mentioned him a little earlier, Bajubstep 3. Look, I just said that Sudden Death's albums had some crazy sound design, but Dubstep 3 is that on steroids. Also, if you're wondering why I'm not playing like a music video from the album in the background, it's because the like album music video is borderline seizure inducing. Like, flashing lights warning, just look at this. When I saw them live, and also, by the way, I completely forgot to mention in the intro that I'm also going to talk about shows I went to, so sorry about that. But anyways, I was waiting outside the venue with a friend of mine, and this venue wasn't anything too big. It was a courtyard of a cafe, so, you know, we weren't too far away from when just all of a sudden, one of the songs from Bajubstep 3, I forgot which one, just started blaring as loud as humanly possible. Then again, that's any Bajelvin show, so yeah. Too Hollis.
God, why'd you make me a fat brunette when I could have been a skinny, sexy guy like two?
Yeah, I really like Star. I hate that I don't have much else to say. My favorite tracks are Flash, Destroy Me, and Sidekick. Yeah, I'm trying not to have all the reviews just be, it's pretty good, I like it. You know, like, I wish I had more to say, or at least just be able to put it into words. Anyways, Jane Remover's Revenge Seekers has got to be like top 3 album of the year for me. My personal favorites off this album have got to be Turn Up or Die, Dream Flasher, and Professional Vengeance. Though that top 3 is very hard for me to pick, because like I also really like Experimental Skin, Psycho Boost, and of course Dancing with Your Eyes Closed. And then just recently they released the Heart EP.
So we all know about this character, right?
Might as well also talk about Sister by Frost Children, because that's also just top 3 album of the year for me. Now, I was kind of a moderate fan of Frost Children before, like, the first single of this album dropped. Like, I had a few of their songs within rotation, like Shake It Like a Serpent, Mona Lisa. Then they dropped Control, which was the first single for this album, and I really liked it, and then they dropped Falling, which I liked even more. It's like each single just got better and better. My favorite being What Is Forever For. Then the album drop, just like my overall favorites from this album are like What Is Forever For is at the top. Radio, Dirty Girl, Electric, and Falling. Those are my top 5. Some of the production on this album is awesome. Like, I love the stuttery and glitchy drop of Dirty Girl, or the unexpected, like, slowed down drop in Falling. The lyrics are so catchy on this album. Like, the way What Is Forever For is written is so good. I like it the way it kind of counts up in the chorus. One thing always leads to another. 2 drinks in, 3 more days, and then What Is Forever For. I don't know, I just love that. Seriously, electronic albums this year have just been great. I love My Computer by Nina Geraci. Amazing album. Just like Frost Children, I was kind of a moderate fan with Nina Geraci. Then the single Fuck My Computer came out, that's what got me on board for the album. I love that there's a song on the album that's named after the first computer to play digital music. I just like that detail, that's awesome. The contrast between Info Hazard's lyrics and instrumental are pretty interesting, because like, the instrumental is this upbeat EDM tune and whatever, and then you look at the lyrics and it's about being exposed to gore at a young age and the loss of innocence that follows, which unfortunately is a common experience for younger people online. But that doesn't detract from the album's nostalgic love for the internet and computers. A similar album in concept is Kane Parsons' I Can't Wait to Use the Internet. Now, a lot of you may know Kane Parsons from the Backrooms YouTube series that now is going to get a movie, and some of you may know that he makes music as well, with most of it being ambient music. But this album is more like EDM centered, and the track names have to be seen to be believed. Also, just look at this album cover. Since we're just talking about fun stuff now, Hyper Youth by Joey Valencia-Bray. Despite only being like a year separated from No Hands, Hyper Youth is more fun, more emotional, and the production is just completely different from the previous album. You know, one song you're dancing and just singing along, and then the next one you're doing the same thing but you're crying. And in terms of production, there's a lot more electronic elements baked in. The Party Song and Disco Tomorrow show that the most. Also, the first track, Hyper Youth, samples Bangarang by Skrillex. I just think that's neat. Speaking of like slight genre shifting, Joost Klein dropped Unity earlier this year. Mr. Klein's been kind of shifting to gobber, Eurodance, happy hardcore type music for a little while now, with this album being like the epitome of it. Some personal favorites off this album for me are Luchtballon, Kunst und Musik, Filthy Dog, and my top favorite track of this album, Last Man Standing, with some honorable mentions being Friesenjugend, Gobberland, and of course the most popular track off this album by far, Europapa. I'm so mad that this album wasn't received well critically. I love this album. Also, the interlude track for Europapa has Aldo on it. That Aldo.
Uber driver, get in.
Alright, I'm gonna rapid fire some electronic singles that released this year. deadmau5 dropped a couple singles this year, my personal favorites being Jupiter and Amina. I really enjoyed Do It by Underscores. I'm really hoping next year to get more into her music. The Frost Children remix of Fuck My Computer by Nina Geraci was like perfect, because I mean, I was just raving about their albums, so of course when that dropped I had to listen to it. Orbital Laser by Cobario is some of the most insane up-tempo EDM I've ever heard. Like, just volume warning, just listen to this. Latin Gabber is by far the most recent release in this video, releasing only like 3 days ago as of recording this. I said that Unity was really using the happy hardcore elements. This is more of the like hardcore electronic sound. Alright, now we're gonna kind of go into like metal and stuff like that. But to kind of transition between that, I want to talk about Funeral in Purgatory by Blind Equation. Funeral in Purgatory is like kind of cybergrind, kind of Nintendo core, along with like digital hardcore. It's an album to mosh to, and also an album to dance to. Like, it feels like the end is the prime example of that. With some of these songs, I feel like I gotta do the crabcore, like 2010s metalcore, like, I don't even know how to describe the like hopping, like dance thing. I'm showing it on screen because I'm terrible at describing it. The last like 20 to 25 seconds of In Purgatory has gotta be like one of the craziest parts in the album. I actually briefly talked to the lead singer of Blind Equation. It was a short interaction because it was at a merch table, but like I mentioned, I'd seen them before. You know, he thanked me for seeing them again. He even asked my name, so like I'm on a first name basis with Blind Equation, technically. I don't know if he still remembers because it was back in July, but you never know. Anyways, my personal favorites from this album have got to be Nothing, It Feels Like the End, In Purgatory, Flashback, and Relinquished Dreams. Another album that's pretty similar is Join Us in Creating Excellence by Soulkeeper. It is some loud ass like mathcore type music. It's glitchy and aggressive at its finest. I just think this is neat, but the song Reality Bites is a feature by Jake from Bajelvin and Rakuyo. Speaking of Rakuyo, they did just release their remaster / expanded version of their debut EP. I want to just say this, if you like Bloodborne and deathcore, that's the perfect EP for you. Both of those bands are actually from Minnesota, my home state. A lot of releases from my area have been great. Cowards That Be by I Owe This Land a Body, Primordial Indifference by Spinal Fluid, Oath's Fish Food, 3 Songs by Town Square Massacre, and When the Dust Settles self-titled album. There's been some great Screamo releases this year, like Run Like a Girl by February, Wichita by Mold, and 1,000 Angels and Seven's debut self-titled EP. There's also Call Me the Boxer's debut EP, No Chaser. It's a post-hardcore, mathcore album, and in the song Large Pants Robinson, before the breakdown, the lead singer, no joke, yells out the SpongeBob quote, "There's a bomb strapped to my chest!" Kind of going into hardcore and metalcore, kind of backtracking to local releases, but Seraph's Demo is one of the craziest releases out there because, like, not only is the band, like, my age, so, like, 16 to 18 years old, but, like, they blew up so quickly in the scene that, like, their most recent release, their second ever release, is released under Days. Like, the same label as Contention, Out of Pocket, Pain of Truth, Tsunami, Haywire. Like, that's big. But yeah, the standout track from their demo is, of course, A Proclamation of Unity. It's a great song on its own, but it's even better live. Just trust me.
Come here! Come here! We're ready! Take my hand! Don't look back!
Some other hardcore releases like Drain's album Is Your Friend, the Coast to Coast split by Tsunami and Pain of Truth, Weapon X's second demo. There's also some other lesser known releases like Undying Malice by Hurt and At the Bottom of the Great Lakes' demo. If you like the more faster kind of beatdown like hardcore, there's Scarab's debut album Burn After Listening. It's short, it's aggressive, and it even has a track that features nails. Also, the Australian hardcore band No Apologies made their grand return after 15 years with their album Life. Not only is it incredible front to back, but it has features from Nails and Speed. And speaking of Speed, they dropped All My Angels. Seriously, one of my favorite releases of this year. I mean, Speed is just my favorite hardcore band in general, but this EP is just great in general. My personal favorite track is Ain't My Game. Now, this next album is kind of still in the ballpark of hardcore, but it's also kind of alternative rock. And that, of course, is Turnstile's Never Enough. This is another album where I can say that you can both mosh and dance to it. Also, the switch up in the song Look Out For Me. Yeah, my personal favorites have got to be Soul, Sunshower, Look Out For Me, Birds, and Time Is Happening. I'm saying this a lot, but like top album of the year for me. Alright, now I'm going to talk about some of my favorite grind adjacent releases. You know, it's sort of in the same area. Grindcore came from hardcore. Holy Grinder released one of their final albums, Consensual Violence. It's a solid noise grind album with multiple collaborations like Chop 7 Times and many others. Speaking of Chop 7 Times, they dropped their album Become Nothing. Sulfuric Cautery dropped 2 albums this year, Consummate Extirpation and Killing Spree. Killing Spree is on the more gore noisy side, and Consummate Extirpation, I can't pronounce that for the life of me, is on the more gore grind side. Full of Hell also dropped earlier this year. It's kind of part grindcore, but also kind of sludge metal. I'm gonna be honest, I initially did not like the album, but after a couple re-listens, I kind of warmed up to it. I'm gonna be honest, it's not that bad of an album. It's kind of on the weaker side of Full of Hell's discography. I do like some of their experimentation, like with the track Corpse Light. And to round up grindcore, Sissy Spacek dropped a couple albums this year, but my personal favorite is Infatigable Demoralization. I'm just gonna say this, it really does put the noise in noise grind. Good lord. Volume warning for this one. Now let's talk about some death metal / slam metal releases this year. Party Cannon dropped a couple singles, my personal favorite being High Tariff Behavior. Restrictor Plate also dropped a single with Guardrail Guillotine. Zavleg did their first release in 7 years with their EP. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce that. This is why I don't do these videos ahead of time, because I never would have expected these guys to drop again, to be honest. Though a bit gimmicky, it's a pretty solid slam metal EP. Sangasugabog dropped an album, and it has an all-star lineup of Defeated Sanity, Peeling Flesh, Todd Jones from Nails, Cattle Decap, and Full of Hell. Also, their use of the, I don't even know what it's called, that little bell that some drummers have that makes that like ping sound.
Damn.
Oh my goodness. Deathcore legends Whitechapel dropped their Return to Formula album Hymns and Dissonance. Not only is this like their heaviest album of recent memory, but like it just continues to prove how much of a beast of a vocalist Phil Bozeman is, despite being in Whitechapel for almost 20 years at this point. Lorna Shore also dropped with I Feel the Everblack Festering Within Me, though for me it doesn't really hold up to Pain Remains as much. It's still a very solid deathcore album. I love the fake out ending in the Darkness where you're like, oh, it's done. And then my personal favorite off the album is Prison of Flesh. I'm just gonna say it probably has the craziest vocal gymnastics I've heard in a breakdown, like, ever. Torture dropped War Crime 2. Technically it's 3 albums, one being slam, one being gore grind, and one being just like experimental noise and stuff. I'm really gonna focus on War Crime 2 Genocide Protocol, which is the slam metal one. The major difference between this album and the last one, Enduring Freedom, is the addition of lyrics. That and the vocals are a lot less gurgly and more, like, I guess you would say understandable. It's a very solid album, though the song Neutralized has like a rap verse, and I don't really know how to feel about that. Certainly a choice. Spite dropped their album New World Killer. It's typical Spite. Stank face inducing aggressive, just good fucking death metal. And the last death metal, or more deathcore release I'm talking about, Salvation Laughs in the Face of a Grieving Mother by Psycho Friend. First off, that's one of the toughest album names I've ever heard. And second, the breakdowns of this album.
Damn.
Alright, we're kind of in the home stretch of albums here. I'm gonna kind of just go all over the place with these. There's been some great ambient music this year, like Aurora Terminalis by William Basinski and Richard Chartier, As Long as I Long to Memorize Your Sky by Elijah Jamal Hassani, and Sellers' You and I Can't Ever Change. Sure, You and I Can't Ever Change is technically a album from 2018, but the expanded re-release that came out this year is like triple the length of the original. It went from being 3 hours to almost 9.5 hours. Ethel Cain dropped 2 releases this year, starting off the year with Perverts, which is like this full-on dark ambient release. Like, if I were to use an image to describe it, it would be this one. And then later this year, she dropped Willoughby Tucker, I Will Always Love You, which is just a beautiful album. Demonstration of Post-Apocalyptic Warfare by Orbital Gate is Fallout New Vegas themed slam metal. Like, that's just fucking awesome. Smoshcore Essentials by Dr. Robotnik III is like Smosh themed grind / like noise. I don't even know what to describe it. They call it Smoshcore, so we'll just call it that. Midnight by Sudden Death and Peeling Flesh was a very unexpected collab, but I will say the song is pretty solid. Epic Demo of Awesomeness by Sheila Broflovsky has such a funny story behind it. So this band is more of a MySpace deathcore revival type band, and they first came onto the scene under the name Lorna Shore 2, and then they got just absolutely sniped by streaming services. So then they came back as Deathcore Band 2. That didn't work out, and finally they were able to release under the name Sheila Broflovsky, which I'm pretty sure that's a South Park character. Also, the song Mic Stand Misconduct has the craziest breakdown call out I've heard.
Ask for consent before sex!
Destination Extinction by Haggis is probably their most, like, palatable album for some folks. It's probably the cleanest Mincecore has ever sounded. It's not my favorite album, but it's pretty good. I love the song Rotting Off. I just like the little intro. Completely forgot to mention this album in my death metal section, but The Right to Live in Peace by Misery Whip is an awesome underground death metal album. Just some good old stank face inducing working class death metal. And finally, this is complete whiplash, but Woodkid's album for Death Stranding 2 is phenomenal, and just might as well also put just the Death Stranding 2 soundtrack as a whole. And speaking of soundtracks, C418's Wanderstop soundtrack is also amazing. And finally, this one is kind of thrown in on a whim because it's mostly a re-release, but the Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater soundtrack, though most of it's just the original 2004 soundtrack. There is a re-recorded version of Snake Eater, which is like top 10 video game songs for me, so I just feel like I have to mention that. And that's about it for all the albums from this year that I like. Crazy how the album section of this video is longer than the entirety of last year's video. I haven't even gotten to talking about concerts yet. Speaking of which, I went to many shows this year, most of them being local. Let's just hop right into it. My first show of the year was with All of God's Children and Chain of Hatred. This was the first show at a specific venue in Minnesota called Flying V that I would end up going to multiple times throughout the year. Not long later, on the 1st of February, I saw Gnaw's final show with Primitive Rage, All of God's Children, Valeska Surat, and Prevention. So, funny story, at the end of this show, I went to buy a vinyl from Valeska Surat. So after the lead singer goes to get not only my vinyl, but also the guy in front of me's merch, I reach into my pocket to get my money. And then I realize I am $5 short. So immediately I start panicking because I'm like, oh shit, I'm gonna feel so bad telling him to instead grab a tape. So I prepare myself, he goes over to hand me the vinyl. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, dude. I just realized I was $5 short. I'll settle for a tape. And he just went, I'll just give you the vinyl. So yeah, shout out Valeska Surat. Also, this was the first time I saw the members of Bajelvin in person. They weren't performing or anything. They were just there. And I just remember there was a point where both of them were standing next to me, and I wanted to say hi and like get a picture and stuff, but I was so shy, and I just stood there shaking in my boots. So instead I just got like this kind of stalkery picture of the two of them when they were further up, I guess just to prove that I saw them. Get ready for this whiplash. 3 days later I saw, get ready for this whiplash. 3 days later I saw Tyler the Creator live. This is for his Chromacopia tour. It was awesome. He performed, I'm pretty sure, the whole album in full. And also I just realized I forgot to include Don't Tap the Glass in this video. Quick review. I really liked that album. Sugar on My Tongue and Ring 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 are my favorites. Anyways, what was cool about this show is that it was the first stop of the tour. Also, there was a moment where some like pyro, not like malfunction, but there was just a little fire on the stage that nobody noticed except for the like stage crew. Also, before the show, I could have sworn I saw him in like the garage area of the stadium. Like, again, here's another really stalkery looking photo. Then, a couple weeks later, I went to Cold Day Fest, which was just a little mini festival. Not only did I get to see Misery Whip, but it was also Rakuyo's debut show and Io This Land of Bodies release show. It also had a surprise Seraph set. I'm not sure if it was the full band, but people sure moshed like it was. I forget how close these shows are to each other, because like 2 weeks later, I saw Blind Equation, Rakuyo, Sucker Punch, Fishing with Explosives, and Feeling of Regret, with surprise sets from I Owe This Land a Body and Kaonashi. This is what I was talking about earlier with Blind Equation, where I got to hear some of their songs off of A Funeral in Purgatory early, because I'm pretty sure most, if not all, of their set list that night was new material. I distinctly just remember the song Nothing, though, at least. Also, like, about a month after this show, Feeling of Regret disbanded because of their drummer, which is the second band this year that I saw live, then they disbanded not long after, because All of God's Children also disbanded because their vocalist. Yeah, that was kind of a rough stretch of time. About a month later, I saw A Thousand Angels and Seven, Wanderer, Valeska Sera, and Time of Tradition. Also, at some point in this show, I went to buy merch from A Thousand Angels and Seven, and it was their lead singer doing the merch. And so not only did I get merch, but I also had just a really nice conversation with her. I also had another situation involving money, because for some reason, I carried only 20s, and I was buying a shirt that was $25. So, like, I was about to apologize, and then the lead singer was just like, I forgot the cash box in the cars, so, like, you can have the shirt for 20. So yeah, that was awesome. That and the pleasant conversation I had with her. Also, while I was waiting in line, I'm pretty sure it was at that show, there was a guy that was talking to me about my Haggis hoodie, and then, like, we were just waiting in line and stuff, and he just offhand mentions, oh yeah, my friend's got, like, a taser, and she's been, like, waving it in my face and scaring me with it. And I'm not kidding, the person he was just talking about came by with the taser, and sure enough, it was a real taser. That's like the closest proximity I've ever been to a taser. Then, about 2 weeks later, I saw Speed. This, by far, is my favorite show of the year. This show was at a really small venue, so I got to get real close to the band. Like, look at these videos. I had to film in 0.5 for some of it. That, and I got a fist bump from their bassist and their guitarist. Got to talk to a lot of cool people at that show. Like, one of them was like a 60-year-old man. So I just think that it's so cool that, you know, hardcore can unite so many people, that like a 60-year-old and a 16-year-old can just both be like, that was a pretty good show. Also, during the song I Mean It, I was like right up front during that, and Jem, their lead singer, points at me and then puts the mic in my face. So I got to say some lyrics. I mean, it was like 2 words, but that's because I'm not one of the people that like grabs the mic. I'm too awkward for that. Like, I feel like I would be doing too much by doing that. There was also someone in a gorilla suit, and I didn't see them at all during the show, except for like during Speed, when I saw them launch themselves off stage. And I just remember, I don't know why I turned around, but I turned around and there was another guy who was just as bewildered as I was. We both basically did the exact same like expression. We were just both like befuddled. But yeah, it was an amazing show. Probably one of the best times I've had at a show, like, ever. Alright, just prepare for some absolute whiplash with these next 3 shows, because they're all within the same month, by the way. So, I went to Collapsing Sun Jam on June 7th. It's like Minnesota's only, like, slam, like, death metal festival. I had an absolute blast there. I really was looking forward to see Torture and Restrictor Plate. So that was awesome. I think the only bad thing about the show was, like, during the dinner break, I went to the Holiday gas station that was near the venue, and right as I was about to leave, it started pouring rain. Like, I mean pouring buckets. And I'm just saying, the walk from the gas station to the venue was not short. So yeah, I came back absolutely soaked, but still had a great time. A couple weeks later came a charity show with Seraph, Fear the Dark, 1,000 Demons, Bound by Unity, and Paralyzer. Good show for a good cause. All the earnings went to Mirak and ICLM. Also, people moshed so hard at this show that the metal sink in the venue was dislodged. So the past 2 shows have been real heavy, right? You know, some slam metal, some death metal, some hardcore. So 5 days after the previous show, I saw Weird Al. Weird Al is a very nostalgic artist for me. I've listened to him for pretty much all my life. So seeing him live was very much on the top of my to-do list. It was a very great show. I did have to leave early because of rain and parking and all of that, but I got to see all the stuff I wanted to see. My only complaint is that the venue was terrible. Anyways, with July, I saw 3 more shows. On July 10th, I saw Stomach Book with I Hate It Here, Blind Equation, and Bajelvin. Not only is this the show where I got to talk to James from Blind Equation, but I also got a picture with DJ Craig from Bajelvin. My friend and I were gonna do a picture with both members of Bajelvin, but we just could not find Jake for some reason, so at least we got DJ Craig. Also, funny thing, I completely forgot to mention this with Cold Day Fest, but at Cold Day Fest, I arrived a little early, so there was barely any people in the venue, and I was wearing a Bajelvin shirt, because it was the closest thing I had to Rakuyo merch, and I was kind of just standing around, and all of a sudden I hear, "Nice shirt," from an oddly familiar voice, and I look up and it's DJ Craig, and before I can even mutter a word, he's like halfway across the venue, so yeah, great show. But then 2 weeks later, I get to see Blood Incantation. Got to hear Absolute Elsewhere in full, plus Giza Power Plant and a bunch of other songs from the other albums. It was a great show. They had some guys dress up as aliens to throw out guitar picks, and I just thought that was funny. Then only 3 days later, I went to Pink Aid 3. It was another charity show, this time the money going towards Twin Cities Trans Mutual Aid. Not only did I get to see Anita Velveeta, Bajelvin, and many others, but I also got to see some drag performances. It was an awesome show. I spent all the money that I had in my pocket on that show. Also, I don't remember if it was this show or the other Bajelvin show. I mixed them up because they were both at the same venue within the same month. But I was walking back into the venue, probably grabbing water or something, and both members of Bajelvin were walking the other way, and DJ Craig, or Calvin if you want to call him by his real name, just gave me a quick salute, and just out of a quick response I gave him like a dad wave, and basically I just smiled and waved. 2 months later I saw Turnstile with Mannequin Pussy, Speed, and Jane Remover. Wasn't that a perfect lineup for me? Probably the most participation I've seen from a crowd. Like, everybody was jumping for Birds. In October I finally got to see Joey Valentin-Bray. Got a picture with Joey. Shame I can't really show it because I don't have my face out there on YouTube yet. A couple days later I went to a Halloween cover show at Flying V, which was also the last show there, or at least the last show at that location. They moved. But yeah, it had Javelin as Crowbar, Rakuyo as System of a Down, Out for Blood as Linkin Park, Seraph as Seven Angels and Seven Plagues, and Bajelvin as LMFAO. No joke, there were people like hardcore moshing to LMFAO songs. I'm not joking. And the last show of the year, at least the most recent show of the year I went to, was Lorna Shore's I Feel the Ever Black Festering Within Me tour with the Black Dahlia Murder, Shadow of Intent, and Peeling Flesh. I did come to the show late, which was pretty unfortunate, but I only missed like 3 songs from Peeling Flesh. I did miss 12 Gauge Autopsy though, but I did get to hear some of my other favorites. Trust me, Will Ramos sounds as good as he does in studio as he does live. Like, seriously, there's almost no difference. My only complaint about the show is that the crowd was kind of buns. Like, at least it wasn't as bad as Chicago, because I think it was Chicago. Whatever show was before the Minnesota one, because, like, Lorna Shore and the Black Dahlia Murder were both ranting about last night's crowd. But, like, all the times that the bands told people to do Wall of Death, no one did it. Basically any sort of fun thing that the bands told people to do, they just didn't do it. Well, at least the opening bands. Once Lorna Shore came up, everyone started like crowd crushing to the front. That was the most annoying thing ever. Like, everyone had their phones up. Like, I'm not the type of person to criticize phones at shows, but that pissed me off. Like, the opening bands were awesome. Like, Shadow of Intent, Black Dahlia Murder, Peeling Flesh, those are all awesome bands, but I guess everyone was just there for Lorna Shore, pretty much just for To the Hellfire. So yeah, that's it for shows I went to this year. For next year, I might be seeing Blood Incantation with Emperor. I also might be going to Milwaukee Metal Fest. I am confirmed to be going to Bring Me the Horizon and Avenged Sevenfold's tours. There's also a myriad of local shows that I'll probably be going to as well. But yeah, I'll really have to wait to see what's announced, you know? We'll just have to wait to see. But yeah, that's it for this video. I'm gonna do a really corny joke. See you next year.